Hey everybody, my name is Scott. I realized that I myself needed to learn about money. I was born here in America, but I didn't know much about it. And I realized as I looked around, many of my friends and colleagues didn't know anything about it either. It's assumed that we're going to grow up and be educated and know how to operate with money, but a lot of times it's not talked about. All right. So up here you see under that title there that I am a financial coach. So I decided to do something about money and learn about it. And I also spent 3 years writing a book called Financial Epiphany to make learning about money simple and creative. That's the way I like to think. All right. Now this may be a little intimidating when you look at this, and money can feel a lot like this. But it's not supposed to. I don't think it should be like this. This is very intimidating and scary. And this is what I used to think money was like when I first jumped in. But I don't want it to be like that for you. I did a lot of the hard work for you, so I'm going to show you how it can be colorful and empowering and inviting, and you can feel confident about this. We're going to break through the complexity, and we're going to make it simple. All right, so those colors that you see there, that's supposed to be welcoming and inviting, and that's how we're going to go about this. Money is a very personal thing. We are all at different ages, stages, and wages of life. Even though tonight what we're going to talk about is a simple 7-step plan to go about money, you want to make sure that after you use these rules of thumb, getting together with a professional, once you have this confidence that you're going to get tonight, and get it customized for you. That is great to learn these simple rules of thumbs, but it's always good to run it by a professional for your particular situation. My name is Scott Yamamura, and I'm a 4th-generation Japanese American. That means my great-grandfather was the first one to come here from Japan, about 100+ years ago, quite a bit ago. Now, can I get a show of hands? Who was born here? Anybody born here? Yes, okay. Yes, okay. Who is the first generation and moved here from Rwanda? Who here moved from Africa to come here? Yes. The majority. All right. So when I say 4th generation, that is a long time. This is a few generations more from you coming here first to the United States. My great-grandfather, as each generation proceeded, each generation learned something new. They got more educated, and they taught the next generation more, right? So when my great-grandfather came over, he had to learn English, and he had to learn how the United States, the economy worked. The next generation, my grandfather's generation, he helped manage apartments and hotels. So he got a little bit further along than my great-grandfather. But then the big change happened between my grandfather and my father. They sent him to college. And he became an aerospace engineer. And he worked on software for the space shuttle. That is an enormous jump, a big jump, right? And then you have my generation after my father. I didn't have as fancy a job as him, not as high status. I was a graphic designer and a website designer and a videographer. But because he taught me about money earlier than he knew about it, I actually had time to get further along. And now we have my son, the 5th generation. And he, with finances, is further along than me because I started teaching him at age 7. So it doesn't exactly have to do with your job. It actually has to do with how much you know and when. My wife, Sue, she's in the back. She's here today. She'll also be at the personal finance table there after this. Her parents were the first ones to move here from Korea. They started a dry cleaning business, which is very common for Koreans to start. They told Sue, you cannot work in this store. We're going to send you to college, and you're going to get a college education. So she studied biology. Yes, and she got into the medical and research area. A huge jump from her parents who worked this dry cleaning business. And by that, each generation learned more than the generation before, and money was part of that conversation in her family, and it was part in mine. But what's in our way? We are the most advertised to culture and nation in the world. So congratulations for living in America. We are convinced to buy things many, many, many times per day. So what's the result? 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. It's very normal. That means we just don't have a lot of savings in the bank. 77% of us are in debt. Yes, quite a bit of debt too. So if you're not counting a house, it's about $20,000 per person. Americans in general have a low level of financial literacy. We're not teaching each other about it. The schools aren't necessarily teaching it either, and neither are our parents. So what do we do about this? All right, what's the name of this toy here? Who knows the name of this toy?
Rubik's Cube.
It is a Rubik's Cube, and Erno Rubik, the Hungarian architect, invented this about 50 years ago. One of the most famous toys in the world, right? Anybody here know how to solve one? Raise your hand if you do. I'm not going to make you solve it. Okay, we have a few here. Yes, and we have Andrew with the so-so. You might need assistance. All right, well, okay, over here too. Okay, 6 sides to this cube. 9 colored squares each, 54 individual squares. When you find out all the potential combinations, there are 43 quintillion possible combinations. That's what that looks like. Each shift of a square, 43 quintillion. That is intimidating. That is overwhelming. That is like money. How do we start? Where do we go from here? How do we learn this complex thing? I learned the Rubik's Cube because my son challenged me, and it was simple. We learned you solve the bottom, you solve the middle, and then you solve the top. I had no idea how that worked. But once I learned that, I myself, who felt like an imposter, like I wasn't supposed to learn this, was able to learn this. And the same goes for money. You may feel like you are not meant to learn this, that it wasn't for you. But this money that you're earning and that you're stewarding is yours. You are supposed to become empowered with this. You are supposed to understand this. And it doesn't have to be as difficult as the world wants you to think it is. It's simpler than you think. And we're going to go through the 7 simple steps right now. Step number 1 with finances. Save $500. Simple step number 2. Save up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Number 3. Pay off your debt. This is non-mortgage debt. We'll get into each of these individually. Step 4, save 15% of your income towards retirement. Step 5, save for the next generation's college if you have kids. Step 6, if you choose to get a home, paying it off before you retire is a very good idea. And step 7, fund your purpose. So that'll be fun to talk about that one. We're going to go through each one of these individually. Step 1, save $500. So for most Americans, we don't have this in the bank. So if you don't feel so bad, because most of us are in that boat. Where do you put $500 when you save this? Well, commonly it's in the bank and in an account called a money market account. And that account earns an okay amount of interest, but it is liquid. So if something breaks down, you can get to that money today. All right? And this just gets the ball rolling. Simple step number 2 is to save 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. You put this in the same area, but this is a bigger goal. This may take a few months or so to save up this amount. And if a tire goes out or your refrigerator goes down or something like that, you don't want to have to spend money to be able to fix that. You want to have this sitting around ready to use. And if your refrigerator does go out and you do have to get a new one, you want to fill this back up to be 3 to 6 months. The other thing this helps you with is if there's a job loss or if there's something like COVID-19, right? Where there might have been a large difference in the amount of hours you were able to work and earn. All right, pay off your debt. Okay, so this one is about paying off credit card debt, car loans, student loans, things like that, right? So how do we go about paying off debt when there's so many of them that we feel like we're juggling? Well, we use something called the debt snowball. This is our secret weapon. All right, so here we're showing 4 example types of debt. Credit card 1, credit card 2, medical debt, and a car. Now, how do we pay these off? Well, we've ordered them from smallest to largest because we want to attack the smallest one first. All right? And how do we create a snowball to attack that with? Well, you might work extra hours. You might work overtime. You might get a second gig, right? You might sell some things that you find are unnecessary, stop some subscriptions that are unnecessary, right? We want to do whatever we can. And if we're saving for retirement, we actually can stop that and put it towards paying off debt first. If there's an order of operations here, we actually want to pay off debt before we start saving for retirement, okay? So we've got our extra money right there, and we're going to pay off that first $1,000 credit card first. It's gone. Now we have more money because it's not being spent on credit card interest. And we take out credit card number 2 with the extra money that we have. Now we have money from credit card 1 and credit card 2, and we can, over time, take out this medical debt. And the ball is getting larger. And finally, over time, the car loan's paid for. That's the debt snowball, and it works. It may take a different length of time for each of us to do that process. All right, let's talk about saving 15% for retirement. Some of you may work for a company that has a 401k retirement plan, a 403b plan, some sort of retirement plan, but many of you may not. In that case, you would consider something like an individual retirement account, an IRA. But at any rate, once the emergency fund is built that we talk about, once you've paid off your debts, now we want to put money towards retirement. Because one day, I'm assuming most of you don't want to work all the way until your last day. You probably want to stop before that. Saving for retirement, 15%. We're going to put that number out there so you can keep that in mind. And then at the same time, if you have kids, you can consider saving for their college through an account such as a 529 college savings plan, which has tax advantages and can multiply. And the same thing goes for the retirement account, is it has tax advantages and can multiply. So you have advantages when you save that way. And 6, if you do decide to get into a home, it's very common to get a 30-year mortgage and spend 30 years to pay off that home. That's quite a bit of time. And so one of the tricks here we want to consider is not to become house poor, meaning buying as big and expensive a house as you can. It's a good idea to buy a house where you have some room. So if you have some extra money, you can actually pay more than is being requested. And then instead of it being 30 years, you have the flexibility of paying it in 30 years, but you can actually pay it off sooner, and you have the flexibility to do so. So we highly recommend being done with paying for a house if you choose to get one before you retire. And number 7 is fund your purpose. Now, when you have your emergency fund, you're sending your kids to college, you have retirement saved up for, you actually might have some money to put towards the reason why you're on this planet, funding your purpose. And I know many of you are purposeful. Some of you even may be sending some money back home and doing that purpose now. And I know Andrew in particular is interested in building this library to help a village back home. And that's an amazing, purposeful thing. And so money can do very, very meaningful things, and we want to take these steps to be able to free up more money. So not only can you take care of yourself and your family, but you can take care of others as well. A few years ago, I went to Sierra Leone in West Africa. I went with a nonprofit organization called the Bridge of Hope, and they build schools, churches, and clinics. I filmed a video there, and I came back. And I went to their fundraising breakfast, and I sat next to a very tall man called Ernie, who walked around with a cane. He was pretty elderly. This was assigned seating, and I was near the front of the room, and I thought, why am I sitting next to Ernie? Who is he? What do we have in common? Well, I learned that Ernie had paid for me to go on that trip to Sierra Leone, and Ernie had paid for me to make the video. And I just learned about that then. I had no idea that he had sponsored me. It was like he was an uncle. It was like he and I became immediate friends. He's my hero. Well, the video I had spent 100 hours filming and editing played. Ernie saw it for the first time, and he leaned over to me and he said, "Scott, that's the first time I've seen that video." He said, "My wife and I decided how much we were going to donate today. Don't tell her, I just doubled it." And with that, I had never seen such joy, such happiness, and such purpose from a man ever. He really was my new hero. And I thought, He learned how to multiply his money. He learned how to manage his money. And because of that, he had resources to fund his purpose. All right, let's take a look at these 7 simple steps once again. How do we get to that point of funding our purpose? Saving $500 just to get things started. Having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund for those things, those unexpected surprises that come up. Paying off all our debt so that we're not giving our money to somebody else. And here's another thing. Don't get into new debt, right? Save up for those things you want to get. Save 15% of your income for retirement. Save for a kid's college. Pay off the home and fund your purpose. So there you go. Those are the 7 simple steps to follow. I like to help people out. That's why I'm here, to help people understand their money. And I hope you had a mental miracle with your money. Thank you very much.